So what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody moving here to kind of make it feel more like home to them? Today we're coming to you from the heart of downtown Kansas City. In fact, that's City Hall right behind me, and in just a few moments we're gonna go inside, and I have the pleasure of getting to sit down with Mayor Quinton Lucas. We're gonna talk about the future of Kansas City, some development plans, and some housing initiatives, as well as some hard-hitting questions that you're not gonna wanna miss. So make sure you stick around until the very end of this video. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name's Kyle. I'm a local realtor here, and I help people just like you buy, sell, relocate, and invest here in Kansas City. So if you check any of those boxes, be sure to reach out. All my contact information is displayed on the screen below. Also, if you could, hit the thumbs up button so the video can be found by more people just like you.
Okay, I made it big, man. I'm on your show.
Oh, well, yeah, whatever, man. Yeah.
It is an honor to have you in the office. Welcome to City Hall. It wasn't so cold outside, we go hit the roof.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for, actually,
right.
that it would be a little nicer than this, but you know, that's Kansas City
Yeah,
weather,
exactly,
weather
right?
for you, right? We're in the Midwest. So.
We got a good Saturday out of it, so
Yeah,
I guess that's
yeah.
all you have to ask for.
I was actually impressed to see that you made it from the current match to the Brookside Parade. So.
Man, I got to do everything, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising that I wasn't able to even fit in Big 12 that night. I finally got tired, but the current was an amazing experience, though.
And I want to touch on that a little bit. So let's not jump ahead.
Right.
Cool. So I was surprised that when I was doing some research in preparation for this that we're pretty close in age.
Oh.
I'm not going to reveal who's older, but
oh my God, I want to know
Yeah.
because if the genes made it so this dude has good hair and gray or anything like that, and I'm just bald-headed and declining at the same age, then what happened, right? Are you from Kansas City originally?
So I grew up on the Kansas side.
Okay. Which spot in Kansas?
Kind of all over Johnson County.
Okay.
So, and you grew up on the east side.
I did.
Of Kansas City. So I always kind of say,
look at this interviewer not trying to tell me about them. I'm like, you can throw out some. I've been to all of them.
I grew up poor in Johnson County.
Don't be ashamed of Mission or Fairway or whatever.
No. Olathe.
Olathe. See, that tells me something.
Yeah.
That tells me that you and I have much in common, right?
Yeah.
Olathe and KC you got courthouses, Go Chicken Go, a few other delicacies and all that. So anyway, I'll let you.
We do have Joe's KC down there, so we got one of the 3 locations.
Well, that's nice. See, exactly.
But it's a little further out now. I live on the KC side.
So welcome aboard. You still got people in Olathe?
Yeah, still got people in Olathe.
Tell them I remember, if we're about the same age, there was this club by the name of Roadhouse Rubies or something like that way back then. You could go dancing if you were 18.
Oh yeah,
Felt real cool.
Did that turn into Studio 2000?
I think it did.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. So now it's a pool hall.
Oh.
And it's kind of out there by where the Great Mall, the Great Plains used to be, which a staple of my childhood. It's a shame shame that it's gone now.
Man, I was out there for the Burlington Coat Factory. I think I remember that.
Oh, it's still there. It's the one part of the mall that exists.
That's right.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
Well, next time I'm cruising down I-35 and I just keep going, I will stop into my Burlington Coat Factory where we're more than great coats.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Plug for Burlington there. So, okay, and then you and your wife just had a baby not too long ago.
3 years ago. 3 years ago. We're about to have another one this June.
Ooh,
so
congrats.
I'm about to be a father of 2. It should be interesting. I don't know where I'm going to find the extra time and the extra money and all of that. But you know what? I'm blessed.
Yeah. Well, I have 3 boys. So if you need any pointers.
God bless you.
Yeah, my oldest just turned 17. But so speaking of Midtown.
No, he doesn't want to talk about him, but I'm I just watch your videos and I'm like, man, you got 3 kids and a 17-year-old? And he gives
my 17-year-old thinks I'm the coolest thing since sliced bread because, I got a YouTube channel, right? He grew up on YouTube.
You haven't set up his own YouTube channel for him yet, or does he?
I'm trying to convince him to make one because Mr. Beast was 17 when he started.
That's right. Does he have a moving to KC teenager?
Yeah.
I made it seem like the least cool thing ever, by the way. I was like, hey, kids. No, anyway.
So Midtown,
Yes.
I kind of want to talk about some development. Obviously, Midtown is a good starting place
Yeah.
for that with
Yeah.
the streetcar.
Yeah.
You know, what do you kind of see with the future of Midtown? Obviously, there's going to be some more development moving in there.
You know, a few different things about Midtown. First of all, Kansas City, Missouri has faced a population decline of 1,000 people a year in the Jackson County portion of the city for a long time. One of my goals, just straight up, is how do we stop that? And what we were able to do downtown over the last 20 years was not only to reverse a population decline, but to have a tremendous increase. We had 2 or 3 city council districts that grew pretty well last term. And 2 of them, of course, were the 1st and 2nd up north, but the other was the district that had downtown in it. Grew by about 18% in population.
Wow.
That's great. And so I want to see that continue throughout the city. And Midtown is an area that's poised for it. Good housing stock, good transit connections, streetcar coming through. And I think you have a few big developments that are coming online that can contribute to that. The old Trinity Lutheran Hospital site, that's 31st and Main, right? You're going to have hundreds of new units there, which I find to be exciting. I think up and down Main Street, you're going to see opportunity. You're seeing more housing rehab, so the single family housing stock gets built up. So I think it is vital for the future of Kansas City that we continue to be a place that isn't ashamed to be old, isn't ashamed to have like these interesting houses. I live in a 124-year-old house.
I love those historic
Aren't they
homes in downtown
fabulous?
Kansas City, yeah.
Right? Like it's wonderful. I love being part of it. It makes the neighborhood interesting. Frankly, it allows for more economic, racial, socioeconomic diversity too, because the houses have this different type. It's not just kind of your suburban layout. And so I am bullish on the future of Midtown, and I believe that with the streetcar connection, you're going to have progress. Another thing, of course, I continue to be committed to is east-west streetcar. How do we look at that link that takes you from KCK 2 points east? My hope is a line, theoretically, like from the KU Med Center to the VA hospital on Kansas City's east side. We've done well on north-south transportation in Kansas City. We have to build up east-west.
Yep. Now that was my next question.
Sure.
Because in October, the Emerging Projects Agreement kind of came out of nowhere, to be honest. Like I remember waking up one day and I'm like reading the paper. I'm like, wait a second, what is this?
Right.
What does that mean for the future of Kansas City and being able to actually capitalize on these infrastructure projects?
So first of all, Q always be working. So, you know, even if it's not known, we got a lot of plans. What does it mean? It means that a lot of projects that exist in the city that before people would say, yeah, we'd love to do it, but we'll never have the money to do it. We'll never be able to get it done. This is a loan program from the federal government that allows us to close those gaps. We get low interest, up to 75-year loans, which allows us, when you're looking at something formidable like a Barney Alice Plaza, $115, $120 million cost for parking and other amenities downtown, a 670 bridge cap, which certainly needs some level of support. And when you look at east-west streetcar, more bus rapid transit throughout the city, this is what this program is about. And probably my favorite project relating to it is our Reconnecting Communities project on 71 Highway, neighborhoods that moved my family years ago. How do you make sure that we help create, I think, a better connection for the Black community that we divided and largely tore apart in the 1980s and 1990s with some of our efforts? And so this to me is the type of program, the Emerging Project Agreement, that gets it done. We've seen the only other city so far that's done it is Austin, Texas. They got about a $22 billion grant. They're finally trying to figure out a train line through the city. Kansas City's already ahead of them, and so I look forward to us staying ahead of them over the years ahead.
All right, I love it. I love to hear it. Now, you did mention the South Loop cap. I just read that they were denied a $75 million grant. What does that mean? I know the initial timeline was to have it done before the World Cup. I mean, does this kind of alter that timeline, or where do you see that going?
You know, first of all, I would say that it doesn't necessarily detract from anything that we were planning, other than the fact that it tells us that the plan we had, which was building segments block by block, we won't be able to build as many segments at once. We always had a plan to start this project, have a groundbreaking. Actually, I believe this year was the goal.
Q3,
and start,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And trying to make sure that we're connecting that block, the hardest to do one, between Lowe's Hotel, Convention Center, 1400 Wyandotte. Get that done, then try to move block by block as things go on. There's a conversation further down the line with the potential for Royal Stadium. We don't need to get into that right now. All I will say is certainly our financing for the early blocks is something that is in place, and we look forward to still having those steps ready to come ahead. And we'll find ways to try to get more federal government money in the future.
Okay, all right. So back to the CPKC Stadium.
Yeah.
First match, you recently attended that. What can people expect from attending a game at the first ever stadium constructed for a women's soccer team?
A fabulous experience in every way. I mean, look, it was a good vibe, and anybody who was out there could tell you. The crowd was diverse. The crowd had any number of activities going on. It was interesting. It was friendly. It was actually kind of different than most sporting events I go to. A lot of people have been concerned about the lack of tailgating, and I say, you know what? I mean,
that's a goodie thing,
right? And I know, and I love my tailgating for Arrowhead. But honestly, people not drinking at their cars for 3 hours in advance actually makes them a little easier to deal with.
Yeah.
But, and there were wonderful amenities inside, great restaurants. I talked to the Semeca's sausage folks. I know Ruby Jeans is connected to it. A lot of good businesses that are in Kansas City have been committed to Kansas City for years. And then the product on the field was absolutely amazing. So to me, I think, and I've said this before, I think the Kansas City Current are hitting the issues right in just about every way, right? First of all, they have given support to women's sports previously unknown in our country, if not the entire world, and that is just cool in itself. They have been able to build an arena in this wonderful footprint on the Riverfront that is the beginning of such a great redevelopment on that end of the Riverfront, the Berkeley Riverfront Park. And the stadium is a cool place. Walked around all of it, look forward to getting to experience more of it along a river, which I think we need to do more in terms of how do we connect with the Missouri River. So it was a great day. I was very proud of it. It was a huge day for Kansas City. And what I've said before is for years growing up here, as you have too, right? We talked about investments by Ewing Kauffman and Lamar Hunt and so many others and wonderful men and all of that. I think people 20, 30 years from now will be talking about Angie Long, Chris Long, this Casey Current team, what they did in changing the city, changing and improving the riverfront, the river market, frankly, all of the north side of downtown.
Yeah, and speaking to the riverfront, you posted something a few months back on your social media about, kind of the future vision for the riverfront, and accessing the riverfront in a new and unique way. That it's kind of an untapped resource for Kansas City. What do you see as like the overall vision for the riverfront area?
I think we engage with our river more. I think one of the biggest weaknesses right now, and I get to experience this sometimes, I like to kayak, is that you can't get off your kayak like anywhere downtown really, right? You're on the other side of I-35 and actually the other side of the casino, like by the time you're actually connected there. Imagine if so many water activities, frankly, even like a relationship with the water was something that we had more of in Kansas City. If you go to great cities in the world and not so great cities in the world, a lot of them respect the rivers. A lot of them have activities with it. If you go down to Wichita, they have a river fest. If you go to Omaha or Des Moines, you see activation along the river. Even Lawrence, Kansas has something at least that's built up to abut the river. In Kansas City, and not to mention Paris and Copenhagen and all these others.
San Antonio.
Right. And I think for us, what we need to do is say, the river, and flooding happens, don't get it wrong, but we have built up banks, we have ways to, I think, engage with the river, engage with river activities, while also still making sure that we're safe above ground. It's not 1880, we don't have to worry about all of the town of Kansas development like flooding out because a big river, a big flood is gonna hit us. What we need to actually do is say, all right, how can we get back to it, how can we develop near it? People love being near it, it's this great natural resource we have. We don't have huge mountains. We have a few good hiking trails. I think the river gives us another great opportunity.
Right, cool. So you touched on housing a little bit a few moments ago. And as a real estate agent, I got to talk to you about housing a little bit.
I know you hustle, right?
Yeah, a big part of your original campaign was the Housing Trust Fund.
Yes.
So I don't think a lot of people really understand what that is. Can you explain, like I'm five, what is the Housing Trust Fund and what is it for?
Money that our city contributes to help support the creation of affordable housing, particularly in areas where it's not currently being built. And so one of the greatest challenges we have sometimes if we're trying to build a new development on, name your street on Prospect, is a lot of times due to, I think, historic redlining, right? Lenders will say, well, we're not going to give you the same either lending rate or even a lending opportunity that we will if it's on Main Street or State Line or anywhere else in our region. And so what we saw was the city government could be helpful in filling that gap. And what we have done so far is filled the gap in a few exceptional projects. We're generating, I believe, already more than 1,200 units of new affordable housing in Kansas City.
Wow.
What that means is your teachers, your city workers, so many other folks who say, I can't afford to live in the city anymore. Well, we're opening up new opportunities in the city for it. Our focus primarily with the Housing Trust Fund certainly is to help build up development on the east side of Kansas City, but we want to make sure that poverty isn't just centralized in one spot. So we want to make sure that we're building affordable housing opportunity in the Northland, in the Waldo area, beyond. And so that is what we're doing with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Kansas City joins cities like Denver and Charlotte in making sure it develops one. Because what the position I don't want us to get into is this point where housing costs are so extreme that you have to live 25, 30 minutes out of town. I think that is unconscionable, frankly. And I know a lot of cities that have gone that way. And so this is us trying to rebuild that core. It goes back to the thing I said earlier. You know, if we're losing 1,000 people a year south of the river in Kansas City, then we need to find ways to keep people here. Some of that means we're building new supply. We're fixing up supply that's been around for a while. And frankly, we're doing it on the east side, we're doing it in Midtown, we're doing it everywhere we can.
Cool. What other initiatives? I know that City Manager Brian Platt tweeted out a few months ago about pre-approved housing plans, maybe less restrictive zoning or plans that are, built to fit within the current city zoning. Are there any other initiatives that are taking place to create more housing in general? Because, again, when I'm looking at the housing stock in Kansas City, we are at a huge deficit. Since COVID, we're less than 5,000 units from resale and new construction side of things. So what other initiatives, if any, that you know about are we doing to create more opportunities for home ownership in Kansas City?
I think a few different things. In addition to the Housing Trust Fund, which does have components of how can we stimulate the ownership market too and that production, we've looked at it kind of from certain areas of the city where we can invest. I recently had the opportunity to announce our $275 million investment in the Parade Park Homes neighborhood. That is at 18th and actually kind of close to 18th and Vine, really, in between 18th and Truman. And the work there is to say not just that we're building rental opportunities, of which there will be many, but also ownership opportunities, townhomes, the sorts of things you don't always see in Kansas City in a row house style. The same way that you saw development in Quality Hill, frankly, in the 80s, early 90s, we're trying to say how can we build that in more areas, the types of spaces that aren't giant lots, aren't huge acreage, but instead are the things that a lot of people may be attracted to if they're relocating to the city. So that's one step. I think another step that we're trying to do is how can we build on smaller lots? How can we recognize that to develop, part of how you can save expenses, frankly, is to say that, we're gonna have a smaller lot, we're using street parking, it's okay, right? There's usually enough for everybody. You don't need a 2-car garage, you don't need all the big driveway, and you're saving tens of thousands of dollars of expense relating to it. So updating our zoning approvals to relate to those sorts of things, I think is a big part of what we do there. The other and final area is to realize that rehab has to be a huge part of the conversation. What we cannot just do is say, the only way we build is to build new subdivisions at different ends of the city. We need to make sure there are resources to help those who are looking to rehab in neighborhoods throughout Kansas City. Look for more on that in the time ahead. I have a few other things that maybe some landlords and others may not like. Vacant land tax as an idea, trying to come up with a way that a lot of our people who are just sitting on land and property in the core of our city, and you see it on a lot of major streets, drive down Truce today, drive down Prospect today, you will see people who are just sitting on land waiting to see if something will happen. And they don't mind if it takes 20 years, 25 years. We've got to change that. We've got to get that back into the stream of commerce. That's another plan coming through City Hall. I would hope sometime ahead that will require a public vote. I know industry would likely be against it, but I've been living in this city my whole life, and it's wild that there are still some intersections and some blocks where I'm like, man, that has been empty my entire life. You go to the southwest corner of Linwood and Troost, and you're just kind of like, how has this still just been sitting here all this time? It's time we get some things moving, and I think that'll be a huge step forward for KC.
I do want to just ask one question about the upcoming ballot initiative.
There's a ballot initiative?
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about that.
Because you just talked about vacant land, right?
Yeah.
The Royals kind of switch gears and they're building or want to build on the crossroads, and this has been a hot topic here in Kansas City.
So.
The one question I have for you is, what do you think? Do you think the deal that we have in place in front of us currently from the Chiefs and Royals is a good or a bad deal for Kansas City?
I think it can be a better deal. I think broad strokes, it's actually a good deal for the city for this reason. If you, and straight up, and I know there's a huge debate on it, right? Subsidies for stadiums. There are going to be at least 30-40% of the watchers say there should never be subsidies for stadiums. I get your point. However, I would say this. I think that is real and true for New York City, for Los Angeles, for your mega markets in the world. For Oklahoma City, Buffalo, Las Vegas, Kansas City, St. Louis, Indianapolis, any number of places. Maybe we are all just a bunch of damn fools. Or maybe in mid-sized markets, right, there is some different type of discussion of the value of having professional sports and the economic activity that comes from it. This last weekend, I was just at a KC Current game. Thousands of people coming to the Riverfront will help us lead to more development on the Riverfront, more development at River Market, more development downtown. I think those are positives for a community. I think those are additive to a community. And I think that, yes, it is part of what our brand is. That doesn't say you give up the whole farm with everything, but it does say that having convention centers, having arenas, having stadiums, having Taylor Swift and Beyonce come to town brings economic benefit to Kansas City. And compared to what other cities are incentivizing for one team, Oklahoma City, $900 million just to keep the Thunder and to rebuild, I think, frankly, a 20-year-old arena. Buffalo, $800 million for one team to keep the Bills. That's $800 million, again, one facility, open air in Buffalo, New York. You have $700 million into the Raiders Stadium in Nevada. You have $1.5 billion for the Tennessee Titans. The going rate in mid-sized markets is often up to $1 billion in what they're spending to try to keep a single team retained. We're looking at a $400 to $450 million investment per team. There are some people who say, hey, that's a crazy deal. I'll just tell you this. The deal ain't gonna get better in Kansas City. It's not gonna get better in the Kansas suburbs if they look over there. It's not gonna get better elsewhere in Kansas City proper. It won't get better in Jackson County. The Chiefs come back looking for more. I think the Royals would come back either here, Kansas, or frankly out of this market looking for more. So when I think about this question as somebody who does think teams and stadiums and World Cups are additive, and I'm telling y'all, it doesn't happen without the facilities. If you think those are additive, then you need to figure out, all right, well, is the whole number something that we're comfortable with? I am comfortable with a sales tax renewal. I'm somebody who voted in favor of this back in, I think, 2006, when it came up last time. I think I probably voted in favor in 2004. I was for the bi-state, my favorite way to fund these things. Yeah. We'll keep working on that. But I think that is additive. Are there improvements we need to have? Absolutely. I've talked to the Royals a number of times. I think the footprint of the Crossroads is too big. I don't think that you need to destroy businesses actually on the other side of Oak, between Oak and Locust, and between 16th and 17th Street. When you look at the rendering, actually, the stadium itself kind of fits between Grand and Oak, and it's all the other stuff that they're building on the other side. Cut a deal with your U-Haul building, cut a deal with some of the others, you can build your hotel there. I think there's a better way to do that. But on the merits, I think it's good to keep these teams. I think it's good to keep the economic activity that they provide. And I look forward to, and this is for those of y'all who live in central Jackson County or eastern Jack, right? If you leave Kauffman Stadium and you have the Chiefs able to program 20 more nights a year over the summer, 25 more nights, the concerts, the shows, the work that people get to do out at Arrowhead Stadium, the hotel rooms that are full. I talked to a dude from the Independence Chamber of Commerce who was talking about $400 a night rooms at Independence for Taylor Swift time. I mean, that's not something that you get just from like a pottery fair, with respect to everybody in that. And so I think this is important for us to keep doing big events.
Okay. All right.
I
don't want to get you in trouble with this one, but I have to ask, what's your go-to barbecue joint in Kansas
Oh, that's
City?
going to be big trouble, man.
Yeah.
No,
you don't have to answer it. Yeah.
So, let me tell you this. The answer is that you get something from each different place. You got to know what your thing is. I like burn-ins from Gates, Joe's KC fries, and their sandwiches are usually quality.
Their fries are so
I get
good.
the sausage from Arthur Bryant's. The chicken wings, actually at Q39, don't sleep on them, are very good, right? Like, so they're solid.
I just had Buck Tui wings.
Oh.
Have you had those?
I have not.
Ooh,
I'm not.
they're fire.
And proving that I believe in regionalism and bi-state stuff, I just got exposed to Slaps over in KCK, which gives like a good dish. So anyway, I'll build up my super plate, the best mixed plate ever, and then I will just try to grub on it as long as possible.
Yeah, I love that. Now, you may not know this, but my YouTube channel and moving to KC originated because I help people who are thinking about relocating to Kansas City and educating them on what it's really like here. So what is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody moving here to kind of make it feel more like home to them?
I mean, I don't want to hate on my man right here, and I hate to go to the camera, but challenge your realtors. So here's the thing. Too often, and you know this, and you're not one of them. Too often a realtor, and I had a pediatric neurosurgeon who moved in down the street from me. And he said when he was looking, everybody said, hey man, you got to go to Leawood. You got to go to Leawood or OP. No offense to those communities, but they were pushing on that. He's like, but that ain't close to where I'm working. And there are all these great neighborhoods I'm driving by. So in some ways, know that there is outstanding opportunity for you and your family in more parts of the city than you may ever know. You know, my wife used to work for Kansas City, Kansas, a community that I kind of knew but didn't know enough about. And when you look at neighborhoods like Rosedale, you look at so many opportunities there and throughout, you realize that there's just a lot more promise and a lot more promising neighborhoods throughout this region. In KCMO, KCK, and so many spots. And I think a lot of times, for better or worse, right, we have realtors who are saying, no, you got to look at this one thing. It is what it is. Whereas I would say, no, you can be creative. You can look somewhere different. You can challenge it, because Kansas City, contrary to what people may think, it is a diverse place. There are a lot of different types of people here. There are things you can learn from your neighborhoods, and it can be a walkable place, which is something that I think has mattered a lot to me. I like that when the streetcar line opens up going north-south a year from now, I'll have the chance to catch it, walk with my kid, my 3-year-old, push the other one in a stroller, catch the streetcar, go on a little adventure. Yeah. I'm hoping that we keep doing that throughout our community, but that's the sort of thing that I like.
Love that. Last question. This is your last term as mayor.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you're just focused on Kansas City for the next few years.
Me and my family.
What's next for Mayor Lucas after you're done being mayor?
Man, you know, as some of y'all watching will like me. Some of y'all watching probably don't. Although it's only been about 5 years, doesn't it feel like it's been 15? Yeah. I mean, man, we did COVID. We had protests. We've had shootings, parades, celebrations, great days, down days, everything under the sun. So it's been a blessing and an honor, though. In terms of what's next for me, I will say this. I love government. I love the ability to make a difference in government. And I've enjoyed being somewhat ambitious. Not as much as you. I've never created a YouTube page. But, I think I'm going to see where my public service path can lead me first. I'm a lawyer by training. And so whatever, I hope y'all don't see me on TV ads too soon. But, if I'm finally out of government, then maybe I'll be saying, Q's got this.
All right, well, hey, it's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you having us today. And it was nice to formally get to sit down with you.
It's an honor. I appreciate what you're doing, man. You're like the news source in town. And I learn stuff from you all the time, so keep it coming.
I appreciate it. All right.
Take care. We'll see you, man.
Yeah.
You have to tell me about teenagers one day.
Yeah.